The story is told of a guy named Harry whose business had fallen on hard times. So he goes to shul and he prays to God. And he says to God, God, I don't usually ask you for personal things, but this is an emergency. I need a miracle. Can you please help me win the lottery so that I can save my business? And he leaves shul, and the lottery happens, and he does not win the lottery. And then all of a sudden, it's not so clear after his business fails that he's going to be able to hold on to his house. So he goes to shul the next week, and he says, God, can you please help me win the lottery so that I can save my house? And the next week, the lottery happens, and again, he does not win the lottery. And at this point, things are really spiraling out of control in his life. He goes to shul a third time, and he says, God, can you please, please, please help me win the lottery? My marriage is at risk. My health is at risk. Help me save my marriage. Help me save my life. Help me save my health. Please, please, please help me win the lottery. And at this point, something completely unexpected happens. He had never thought it would happen. It had never happened before. God answers him in real time. From the very heavens, God thunders down, Harry, I would like to help you win the lottery, but first you have to buy a ticket. And I thought about that old classic, about the fact that there is a lottery in life, and we have to buy a ticket. There is luck in life, and we have agency, and both are true at the same time. And I thought about that when I read about the life of Louise Levy, who was a woman who passed away this July at her home in Greenwich, Connecticut, at the age of 112. And not only did Louise Levy attain extraordinary longevity, 112, but what is remarkable, double remarkable, is she enjoyed great health all the way to the end. She's 111, 112 years old, no heart disease. She's 111, 112, no high cholesterol, no cognitive decline, no Alzheimer's. She just gets to 112 in health without any cognitive decline and slips away. And the question is, what was her secret sauce? In fact, a study was done, and Louise Levy is part of this study, of 700 Ashkenazi Jews who all live at least until the age of 95. And this study asked the question, what was their secret sauce? How did they get to be 95 or older? How did they get to be 112 and in such good health? Because, of course, who among us wouldn't want to just have what she's having? We'll do what she's doing. So what's the secret? So is it that Louise Levy exercised every day? No. Was it that Louise Levy was a very intentional, careful eater, and she observed some kind of a diet? She was a vegan or a vegetarian or ate the Mediterranean diet, whatever the Mediterranean diet is, and the answer is no. Was it that Louise Levy had a glass of red wine every night with dinner, or that she never had any wine at all? No. Was it that she was a member of a synagogue like Temple Emmanuel, and she went to the Daily Minyan 4 days a week, and that kept her ticking? And I wish the answer were yes, but no, it was not about that. So what was her secret sauce? So the director of the program is a doctor named Nir Barzilai. After studying 700 people like Louise Levy, reports out the finding. The biggest answer is genetics. Did they do what we should do? Exercise, diet, and sleep, and have social connectivity? The answer is mostly no. 60% were smoking. Less than 50% did much household activity or biking. 50% were overweight or obese. Less than 3% were vegetarians. In other words, Louise Levy won the genetic lottery. She just was born with lucky genes. And as is the nature of so many lotteries, it was not earned, it was random. She was just blessed to be born with lucky genes. Now, the truth of the matter is, though, if you step back in this season of reflection and look at our lives, so much of the arc of our life is shaped by lotteries that we won or did not win at birth. There is the zip code lottery. If you happen to be born in a blessed zip code, like Chestnut Hill, or Brookline, or Newton, you tend to have greater longevity than if you were born in a poor zip code. That's just a fact. And there is the lottery of the family of origin to which you were born. If you were born into a family that provides guidance and structure and love and family meals and high expectations and support and strength, that's a different trajectory than if you're not blessed to be born into that kind of a family. There is the lottery of the kind of education that we were blessed to get or not blessed to have. There are all these lotteries that shape the trajectory of our lives. But I keep hearing the punchline of that old joke. Harry, first you have to buy a ticket. And the question is, what is our agency in a world where so much of our life is shaped by trajectory of lotteries that we won or did not win at birth? And guess what? That is the essential question of the most important high holiday prayer. You know that we're starting a high holiday season tonight. Slichot, Rosh Hashanah, I am told, is next weekend. And the central prayer is Unatana Tokef. And the central message of this prayer is that life is a series of lotteries that we win or do not win. And that random, scary stuff can happen to any one of us at any time. Just think about the word Maui. As you listen to the words of Unatana Tokef, or think about the word Morocco, because we woke up this morning to news that there was a major earthquake in Morocco that killed 800 people and left 600 people wounded. Maui, Morocco, life. This is the language of Unatana Tokef. Who will live and who will die? Who will live a long life and who will come to an untimely end? Who will perish by fire and who by water? Who by sword and who by beast? Who by hunger and who by thirst? Who by earthquake? And who by plague? Now, the Hebrew name for these days of awe is the Yamim Noraim. And Norah is awe, but Norah also has an edge of fear and trembling. And here's the truth. The truth of our life, that we're all subject to that, is too much to handle for most of us. I mean, you would be terrible dinner conversation party. You would be a terrible guest at a dinner. You'd be like Debbie Downer from the old SNL skit. If that's the kind of energy you channeled. But on the 3 days a year of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we go to this place where we think about all of this lottery. And the question is, Harry, you have to buy a ticket. Where is our agency? And the agency comes in the last line. And you know that because when you're in shul at the services, after being scared half to death by the language I just read, there's always the uptick at the end that we all sing. U'teshuva, u'tefila, u'tzedakah, ma'avirin et roa hagazerah. And we sing it with uptick because it's uptick. What does it mean? Repentance, prayer, justice can annul the severity of the decree. Here's what I think this prayer is saying. We cannot control what happens to us. We can only control what we do about it. Another way to put it. We cannot control the hand that is dealt to us by life, but we can control how we play the hand. That last line is about agency. We always have agency. And our question throughout our life, especially in the hard chapters, is where is my agency now? Teshuvah means return. We always have the agency to ask the question, how do I return to a better form of myself? How do I become the best version of me? We have the agency to ask, what tweaks can I now take to get there? Tefillah means prayer. We have the agency to turn to God in prayer if we're a God person. And if we're not a God person, we have the agency to turn to some external source beyond ourselves that can help us be a better us, an accountability partner, your therapist, your counselor, your spouse, your friend, who can work with you to get you to be a better you. You have that agency. And tzedakah, of course, means justice. It means doing stuff. It means deeds. We have the agency to act and take steps to become the better us that we want to become. And so in the face of all of this random lottery, Harry, buy a ticket, the question is always, where is our agency now? So I'm going to give you a concrete example of what this looks like. The same time that Louise Levy died at 112, there's another woman named Florence Berger who did not win genetic lottery. She died at the age of 83 from multiple sclerosis. But the story of her life was not how she died or what she died from. It was how she lived, and in particular, what she did with the last 20 years of her life. This is the first line of her narrative. Florence Berger, comma, who helped many people find enduring love, comma, and then it tells her story. So her story is Florence Berger was, first of all, a very notable professor at Cornell, the Hotel School of Management. She was not only a tenured professor at the Hotel School of Management at Cornell, she was the first female professor ever tenured there. And she was a beloved teacher. She received Cornell's highest award for teaching excellence. And then she retires at the age of 63. And here's what she does. She says, I know what the greatest blessing in my own life is. The greatest blessing in my own life is my marriage to my husband, Toby. We've been married for 66 years. And I can't even imagine life without my husband. I can't even imagine life without my marriage. And yet I look around and I see so much loneliness in the world. I'm going to spend the next chapter of my life, however many years God gives me, helping people find love. And she becomes a professional matchmaker. And in 20 years, Florence Berger is responsible for 25 marriages. And she never took a penny for any of the work she did. The only pay she got was, number one, the wedding announcements of those couples that she brought together, and number two, the birth announcements of the children that those couples brought into the world. Florence Berger's story was not, I no longer get to be a professor at Cornell, now what am I going to do? Her story was not, my husband died and now I am widowed and alone, now what am I going to do? Her story was not, my best years are behind me, the golden years of yesterday, now what am I going to do? No, Florence Berger's story was, I wake up, I have this important day, this gorgeous day that only happens once. How can I fill it with meaning? And she used her agency to create love. And there are 25 couples and the children that they brought into the world who testified that she used her agency in a hard, late chapter of her life to increase the quantum of love in our world. The good news is also the hard news, is also the intimidating news. We all have the same winning lottery ticket. Our life is what we make of it. May these upcoming high holy days inspire us to make of our one beautiful life a thing of beauty and consequence. Shabbat Shalom.